Hello guys, and welcome back to the second part of this tutorial. So like I said, in this particular one I'll be showing you how to join all these pieces which already drafted out in the first video, which is already uploaded on the channel. And I went ahead to cut out on all my pieces, and for the yoke part of this dress I use my African print, and for the other part, for the down part, sorry, I use my black crepe, which I showed you earlier on in the previous video. So you can see my spread of 3 inches, because I'm going to give a little gathers to this to make it puffy so that your boobs can sit properly. So I went ahead as well to also add half-inch sewing allowance all round. So after that I also went ahead to cut out my lining piece for all of these parts of these dresses, which I'm going to sew in this particular video. So I am just going to place my African print on my fabric right side facing my lining, and from that point where my hand stopped, my left hand, I'm going to sew all the way around, leaving only that bottom part open. I'm not going to sew that part, okay? So I'll also do the same for the back part. I'll stitch all of the sides of this bag, leaving the underneath open. So I'm just going to place these two my front side of my fabric facing the lining. I'm going to stitch all around, leaving only the bottom part of my yoke open. I hope you understand what I mean. Just follow with the illustration I'm giving with my hands, okay? So I'll show you this now, and this is it. This is for the front yoke. I've gone ahead to stitch that, all of that, leaving only from that point where my neck depth stopped to the other end of my yoke. If you look properly, you understand what I mean. So now I'm just going to run a gather stitch on the underneath of my yoke for the front. Please, this is the front yoke, okay? So you can actually make use of sewing machine to run a gather stitch, but I prefer using my hand needle and a thread to do this. So I'll go ahead and gather this properly, carefully and neatly, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of stretch. I'm going to stretch this a little bit, and I'm just going to do that. You can see it's already looking puffy, and of course with this your boobs can sit in perfectly and well presented in the dress. Sorry, permit me if I should use that word. And after I've done that, I'm just going to get my front yoke pattern, and I'm going to seal this up with a sellotape, and I'm going to place my yoke on top of this my pattern paper to enable to make sure that I actually have the same measurement with this while it is closed. I hope you understand what I mean. So I'm just going to place that my front yoke on it to make sure that okay, they are equal, okay, to make sure that I didn't gather more than the 3 inches. So of course the underneath is going to be a bit shorter than the pattern, because I actually had to gather this, and of course it's puffy, so I'm just concerned with the upper part and the sides, okay? So I'm just going to place this properly and make sure is exactly in place with the yoke, with the pattern paper. So after achieving that, I'll just move right over to the back part of this dress, and I've gone ahead to stitch all of that part, and I've turned it over, and you can see that the underneath of my yoke is still open. So I went ahead to mark my nipple to nipple of 3.5, and from there I came out by ½ inch at both sides, and from that point I came up as well by 5 inches, and I just connected, and that was all I did for this part. So that's just for my dart intake. I hope you understand. So now I'm done with all of that part, so I'll move on with the lower part of this my dress. So I'm going ahead to just remove all these pins which I already used in pinning this down to the fabric, and after that I'm just going to open this up for you to have a better and proper view of what I'm trying to do. And I am just going to stitch my yoke to this down part of my dress, starting from that point exactly where I stopped. You understand what I mean? I remember in my previous video I had a neck depth of 8 inches. So from that 8 inches where I stitched from, I'm just going to pin from that point, and I'm just going to close in that remaining tiny little teeny space there, because from the thumbnail is everything was actually closed. So first of all, I'll go ahead to pin this my African print to this my black crepe, and I'll do this carefully, and you can see that the yoke aligned with the body, meaning that of course I didn't exceed my 3 inches slashing and spreading. I hope you understand. So I've gone ahead to do for one part of this, and I'll go ahead now to use my sewing machine to actually sew that part up, and I'll do the same for the other part of my yoke for the front. So I will do the same as well for the back. I'm going to stitch using 1/2 inch, and I'll show you what I have, and tada, here it is. And I'm just going to switch over now to the back part of this, and I'm going to join the shoulder after I must have joined the back yoke with the down bodies, and I'm just going to sew up the shoulder with at least 1/2 inch. Let's see, with 1/2 inch for the both shoulder, and also for the sides using the 1.5 inch allowance, which I gave you earlier in the first video while drafting. So after doing that, now the only place which is open we have here is the zipper allowance, and I'm just going to go ahead now to place my zipper on this my back piece, and I'm just going to stitch or sew from there all the way down, and I'm going to show you how to actually pin this up so that your machine can run through your pins without having your needle cutting or anything. So you're going to pin just the way you see me pin here. The camera didn't really get everything, but if you can see, I am pinning, well, I call it vertically or horizontally. I'm not pinning it straight. So with that, you're able to leave your pins there and run your stitch or whatever it is across without having your machine needle damaged or anything. So after that, now I'm just going to move over to the ruffle part of this dress, and I am working with an African print which is by 45 inches. The length is 45 inches, not by yards actually. So I just folded it into two. Okay, sorry, I'm just explaining how the dress looks like there. Sorry, I skipped that part. So over to this now. I folded this into two. If you watch very well, I folded it into two. My table is quite small and my camera couldn't capture everything, but for the length I went ahead to measure 14 inches, and after measuring all these 14 inches, I'll just go ahead and cut this out. But I folded this into two because I'm going to gather this, and it's going to serve for my ruffles for the front and for the back, because I don't really want this to be too much, because this is an Ankara. At the end of the day, it will end up being too puffy, so I don't really want to have so much full ruffles. I hope you understand what I mean. So you can see I went ahead to cut this out after measuring my 4 inches, and please remember I folded this into two with its full length. Okay, so this is just it, and I'll trim off the sides to be equal. This is actually very long because it's going to cover for the front and for the back part of my gown. So this is just it. So I'm just going to use my needle and my thread to make a gather stitch on it. Please mind you, if you are not comfortable or conversant with using a hand needle and your thread, go ahead and make use of a sewing machine and just run a gather stitch. So when you're done, you're going to pull at both ends gradually. Okay, but for me, I find this a whole lot easier for me because I don't know, I'm used to it. So that's just it. So after doing all of this, I'm just going to gather it, and exactly the way you gather, after gathering this, you are going to drag this or draw this and place it exactly the way the shape of your dress actually is, and you move over to your sewing machine and stitch up everything. I couldn't show it here, but I really do apologize. And so here is the end product of this tutorial, and you can see that middle point there is actually pointy and sharp. You can actually make your neck deeper than mine. So this is it. So go ahead and give the down side of the ruffles a very good press for making use of an Ankara piece to make it come down, and you can see how beautiful it is. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and if you find this helpful, please, I recommend that you like this video. Till some other time, see you on the same channel. Bye.